The room falls silent. It's not just quiet, it's charged. All eyes lock onto you, waiting. One difficult question, one unexpected challenge, and suddenly you're the center of gravity. Time slows. You feel it in your gut. That pull, that urge to fill the silence, to explain, to speak, to say something. Anything. That feeling. That's the trap. We've been conditioned to fear silence, to treat it like a problem we need to fix. But what if I told you that this exact moment, the silence you're so desperate to escape, is the most powerful weapon you've got? The person who speaks first loses. That's not a rule. That's a law of power, because silence isn't the absence of communication. It's the most strategic form of it. Niccolo Machiavelli, the 16th century thinker who saw the brutal truth of how people work, understood this better than anyone. While everyone else was trying to talk their way into power, he was watching the quiet ones, the ones who disappeared from the spotlight only to reshape entire kingdoms. He saw what modern psychology is only now beginning to explain. Silence isn't weakness. It's not passivity. It's dominance, camouflaged as restraint. In a world obsessed with broadcasting every thought, every reaction, every opinion, silence becomes terrifying. People can't handle not knowing, and that's where you come in. Because when you stop giving them everything, your thoughts, your reactions, your plans, something strange happens. They start filling in the blanks. They project. They guess. They spiral. That's called the ambiguity effect. And it means this: the less you say, the more control you have over what others think you're saying. That's not manipulation. That's leverage. Think about it. How many times have you explained yourself just to ease someone else's discomfort? How many times have you filled a room with words just to stop feeling invisible, only to walk away feeling misunderstood anyway? And here's the twist. Silence doesn't make you invisible, it makes you unpredictable. And unpredictable is dangerous. Strategic silence doesn't mean being shy. It means knowing exactly when not to speak. It means knowing that the person who stays still longest in a negotiation usually wins. It means understanding that, in relationships, saying less often creates more interest than explaining everything. It means knowing that what you don't reveal is just as important, sometimes more important, than what you do. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He watched how people expose themselves through their own noise, how they'd ruin plans by speaking too early, too much, or to the wrong audience, how they'd lose leverage not because they were weak, but because they couldn't shut up. He understood that power doesn't just come from what you control, it comes from what you withhold. Every time you speak, you spend power. Every time you stay silent, you collect it. It's psychological. Humans are wired to break tension. That's why silence feels uncomfortable, because we're programmed to kill it. But that discomfort, that tension you feel in your chest when no one's talking, that's not emptiness. That's pressure. And pressure is how people break or bend. The one who stays quiet longest has the advantage. In business, it's the investor who pauses after the pitch and waits. In relationships, it's the person who doesn't beg for clarity, doesn't chase for answers, doesn't flinch when left hanging. That stillness is unsettling. It creates curiosity, and curiosity leads to influence. Even in leadership, it's not always the one talking who's guiding the group. It's often the one who poses a question, then waits, watches, lets others show their cards. Because when people speak too quickly, they reveal too much. And once it's out, it can't be taken back. This isn't coldness. It's discipline. But it's hard, isn't it? Because silence forces you to confront your own doubts. If they're not responding, did I mess up? If I don't say something now, will they think I'm weak? If I don't explain myself, will they misunderstand? That's the real war. Not between you and them, between you and your own nervous system. But here's where you flip the script. The moment you stop trying to be understood and start being unreadable, you stop playing by their rules. You stop performing, you start controlling. If this is speaking to you, if you feel like you spent too much of your life trying to fill the silence, hit subscribe to the Mind's Mirror. This is where the noise stops, where power becomes psychological, and where you learn how to win without shouting. Now back to you, because I want you to imagine this. You're in a negotiation. You state your terms. The other party goes quiet. Your brain starts racing. Did I ask for too much? Should I lower my ask? Maybe I should explain more. That's what they want. That silence, it's not rejection, it's a weapon. And if you can't sit with it, you lose your leverage. But reverse the roles. You're the one who speaks, and then goes silent. Now they're squirming. Now they're second guessing. Now they're about to make the offer you didn't even ask for. Why? Because people will do almost anything to escape the pressure of uncertainty. And when you master silence, you control that pressure. You control them. Strategic silence is not passive. It's not about saying nothing because you don't know what to say. It's about saying nothing because that's exactly what shifts the power in your direction. Think of Machiavelli, exiled, stripped of political position, written off. What did he do? He vanished. He didn't chase approval. He didn't explain himself. He retreated and wrote The Prince, a work that would outlive every one of his enemies. That's what silence can do. It doesn't make you disappear. It makes you immortal. Modern psychology now confirms what he knew centuries ago. Humans have something called loss aversion. We're wired to feel the pain of loss twice as hard as the pleasure of gain. That's why when your presence is expected and you pull back, it hits people hard. You didn't just walk away. You created a vacuum, a psychological gap that demands to be filled. And people don't fill that gap logically. They fill it emotionally, with assumptions, with fear, with need. That's the power of calculated absence. You stop responding to their texts. They don't think you're busy. They wonder if they lost you. You go quiet in a meeting. People wonder what you're thinking, not because you said anything powerful, but because you didn't say anything at all. That silence becomes a stage for imagination, and imagination is more powerful than explanation. Now apply this to your life. Where are you giving away power by over-explaining? Where are you filling silence with weak justifications, endless clarifications, or nervous chatter? Where are you showing your hand too soon? And more importantly, where could you take a step back and gain 10 steps forward? Let's be clear, this isn't about manipulation. It's about control. It's about knowing that in every situation, there's a decision environment, and that environment is shaped not just by what's said, but by what's not said. The person who controls that space controls the outcome. The most dangerous person in any room is the one you can't read, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who can sit in discomfort longer than everyone else. You don't need to raise your voice. You need to raise your value. And the way to raise your value is to stop handing it out. Let people work for your attention. Let them earn your reactions. Make your engagement rare, and it becomes priceless. Now imagine applying this principle everywhere. In conflict, don't explain yourself to people who already made up their minds. Go quiet. Let them wonder. In leadership, don't solve everything instantly. Ask questions, then wait. Make silence part of your authority. In dating, don't chase. Don't fill the space. Let absence reveal your worth. In negotiations, don't rush to clarify. Say what matters, then let them sit with it. Because if you're always the first to talk, you're never the one in control. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool talks first, over-explains, tries to be liked. The wise man waits, then moves with purpose, sharp, precise, quiet. But here's the hard part. It takes inner stability. The reason most people can't use silence strategically is because they haven't trained for the discomfort. They confuse stillness with passivity, but it's not. It's pressure, it's presence. And the moment you learn to sit in that pressure without folding, you become untouchable. Silence is not a lack of action. It's a form of mental combat. The loud ones burn out fast. The quiet ones outlast them all. And now you have to ask yourself, are you willing to stop filling every space just to be seen? Are you ready to let the silence do the talking? Because when you break this habit, when you finally understand the power of not speaking, something shifts. You become magnetic. People lean in. They guess. They wonder. They follow. You don't need to fight for influence. You simply become the one they can't ignore, even when you say nothing at all. So let the world keep talking. Let them overshare. Let them show their hands, while you sit still, holding all your cards. This is how you move without noise, how you rise without being watched, how you win without ever needing to perform. Let silence be your sharpest move. Let it become your armor, your strategy, your signature. And when they ask how you did it, smile. Because if you use silence right, they'll never even see you coming. If this opened your eyes, if it reminded you of a strength you forgot you had, then don't stay silent now. Subscribe to The Mind's Mirror and drop a comment below with one word: stillness. If you know what it means, you're already walking the path. And next time the room goes quiet, don't rush to break it. Let everyone else get uncomfortable. You're built for this.